What if I tell you that by enabling one simple feature, you can get more FPS on every single game, no matter what kind of GPU you are using, whether it's from Nvidia or AMD, both of them have that feature and it is called resizable bar, or SAM for AMD. And if you think it is a new technology, well, it is not super new, but it's not that much old. It's what introduced with PCIe 3.0, and by using resizable bar or SAM, whatever you want to say, your CPU will get full access to your GPU. Now, to understand this concept, you have to understand this. If you don't enable resizable bar, your CPU will only able to access 256 megabytes of your frame buffer. Now what is a frame buffer? Now, when you play games, all of its textures, polygons, and so many other things that are needed to implement that game visually get stored in that frame buffer. Now, your CPU can only access 156 megabytes of that frame buffer at a time. Well, it limits how much data that you can offload to that frame buffer. And by enabling resizable bar, your CPU will now have a total access to your GPU's frame buffer. So each and every instance, your CPU can offload all the textures or all the data or all the details it needs to the frame buffer. And in theory, by using this method, you will have much more improved gaming experience. You will have better 1% lows, you will have more average FPS, and your higher FPS will be better. But it is on theory, because most of the games that have been developing, all the developers have to keep in mind that they have 256 megabytes to work with, and that's the reason they optimize their game for that small amount of storage. So when your CPU have full access to a huge pool of frame buffer, it still uses a very small portion of it, unless previously you are having a bottleneck, which is a totally different topic for another day. Even if it enables resizable bar, in most games you don't see that major improvement. Yes, you can see some differences, like 1 to 5% difference at 1080p or 1440p, but if you are playing games in 4K, you really don't see that much performance improvement. And there are some games which are not really optimized for resizable bar, or resizable bar isn't optimized for those games. Well, in that case, you will see lesser performance, like your performance will decrease. Yes, even in this case, this will be very minimal, like 0.5 to 2%, which honestly you won't notice that much. So what that means, that resizable bar shouldn't exist and this is kind of a scammy feature? No, it's not really, because it has its use cases. Day by day, games are getting bigger, textures are getting more detailed, and they are getting much true to life. So for that case, developers might need a larger pool of frame buffer to properly store and optimize their games in future moving ahead. So yeah, at that time, having resizable bar in your arsenal won't really hurt you much. So if you ask me, I think this technology is not meant for today, but for tomorrow, if again game devs try to implement it, because it's all on the game devs' hand. If they think that this feature is harder to implement and this will waste their time, and they might use their precious time into developing some core mechanics of a game, well, they will do it. You cannot stop them from doing that. And in their point of view, that might be okay for the particular game that they are working. Okay, I'm getting off the track. So the final point. If you see a resizable bar option on your graphics card, now if you use Nvidia GPU, you need to have a 3000 above GPU. If you use a AMD GPU, you need to have 6000 above GPU. In case of AMD's implementation, or SAM, Smart Access Memory, you need AMD GPU and AMD CPU both. But in Nvidia's implementation, which is resizable bar, which is the simplest name, you don't need brand specific GPU. It doesn't matter if you have Intel GPU or if you have AMD GPU, both will work fine. And yes, my final verdict is, if you have it, turn it on. Even if it decreases, you won't see that much of a loss. And if it improves, again, you won't see that much of an improvement. In some future, you might see major improvement. Until then, you can subscribe to this channel and feel free to comment down below what is the next topic that you want to know. And until then, you can watch this video right here. And if you like the video, hit the like button. If you haven't, hit the dislike. And there's Akash, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.